Are you struggling to learn how to solo on guitar? What if I told you everything you need to play great sounding melodic guitar licks was hiding right in front of you in plain sight? And you probably already know enough stuff to play legit lead guitar lines right now? Well, today we're going to clear away the clutter and show you an approach that lets you concentrate on making music right away. You're going to sound better immediately, so grab your guitar, let's get into it. You know, learning to play lead guitar can seem like an overwhelming, unsolvable puzzle at times. There's just so much information out there. This system, that system, confusing music theory, endless exotic scales. Lots of students tell me they're stuck and their biggest problem is that they don't know how to put the pieces all together. So here's the real problem that so many of us get caught up in when we're learning lead guitar. We get so snake charms by the gymnastics aspect of playing guitar, and we think we have to learn all this stuff before we're going to be any good. And we forget that our real job, the essence of playing lead guitar, is just to put together some notes that sound really good over the chords that we're soloing over, and to play those notes with some soul and some feeling. Now, a common solution that we're often given to learn to play the right notes over certain chords is what's called chord tone soloing. Literally playing the notes of a chord over that chord. And yeah, those notes are correct, but chord tones alone, they're not enough. Here's what chord tones only sound like over a simple A minor to D minor groove. No wrong notes, but after just a little while, it starts to sound like crap. We need more notes than just chord tones to make our licks sound interesting. I was brainstorming about how to help people with this the other day, and the light bulb just went off. What if we take a simple chord shape and just focus on using those notes, and then also the notes on either side of the chord tones to make up melodies? And once we've got the hang of coming up with good licks, really concentrating on our phrasing to give what we're playing some soul. It's an idea that is so freaking simple, but it's also fundamentally very sound. All you need is a chord shape, a little bit of understanding of the notes that are around it, and your imagination. Now let's go back to that A minor chord. In the backing track, I'm playing an A minor 7 shape that looks like this. But for our purposes, we're going to simplify the chord shape into an A minor shape here at the 5th fret. And we've got the notes A, C, E, and another A. Now we do need to know enough theory to know that we're playing in the key of A minor. A minor is the relative minor of C major, so there's no sharps or flats that we have to worry about. In addition to the notes of the chord, which were A, C, E, and A again, we can also work with the notes B, D, F, and G. With that in mind, let's take another look at that chord shape. On the D string at the 7th fret, we've got an A note. What's another note within easy reach of the A? Well, there's a G at the 5th fret and a B at the 9th fret. We've got a C on the G string at the 5th fret. There's a B note at the 4th fret and a D note at the 7th fret. What's around the E, which is at the 5th fret of the B string? Well, there's a D note at the 3rd fret and an F note at the 6th fret. Lastly, the chord has an A at the 5th fret of the high E string, and on either side of that A, there's a G at the 3rd fret and B at the 7th fret. So that kind of gives us the lay of the land, or the lay of the fretboard, if you will. And here's one of the most important concepts you can get your head around as a musician. Playing chord tones sounds boring because you're just playing the notes of a chord over that chord, but playing a note that's not in the chord, and we just identified those quickly and easily by looking at the notes on either side of the chord tones. Well, it sounds cool because the notes clash a little bit. And we want that clashing and the tension that it causes because it draws the listener in. They're going to be thinking, those are interesting notes, but where are they going to go from there? And then we resolve the tension by going back to chord tones and things sound safe and right again. If there is a secret to creating memorable licks and melodies, this is it. It's the principle that Joe Satriani used to write all the super catchy instrumental melodies that he's come up with over the years. And it's pretty much the reason that every solo David Gilmour has ever played sounds epic and beautiful. Okay, now that we've got the idea, enough talking. Let's play. Now, the backing track we're using today is a little 2-chord vamp that goes from A minor to D minor. Now, we already looked at the notes around the A minor chord shape. Let's do the same thing for D minor. Let's just use this simple triad shape. We've got a D at the 5th fret of the A string, with C at the 3rd fret and E at the 7th fret. We've got an A at fret 7 of the D string, G at fret 5, B at fret 9. Another D note at fret 7 of the G string, with C at fret 5 and E at fret 9. And the chord has an F at fret 6 of the B string, with E at fret 5 and G at fret 8. Lastly, we've got an A at fret 5 of the high E, G at fret 3, and B at fret 7. And if we just go string by string, playing the 2 non-chord tones first and then ending on the chord tone, to my ears, every combination of those 3 notes sounds like a little story of its own. And I hope you're hearing the melodic potential here. Here's one last little bit of theory. Each of the non-chord tones have their own unique quality, a mood that they create when played over the chords. The 2nd or the 9th interval, and that over an A minor chord would be a B note. And over the D minor, it would be an E note. To my ears, the 2nd or the 9th sounds really haunting or yearning. Hanging on that note and then resolving to the root note, it's a great sound. And we can make it even more emotional by hanging on that 2nd or 9th, going to the minor 3rd, and then to the root. Those 3 notes in that order, what sounds like yearning being expressed by the 9th, and then crashing back to the reality that what you want, it's not going to happen when we hear that minor 3rd and the root. The 4th interval, well, that would be D over an A and G over a D. That interval over a minor chord sounds to my ears like anticipation, like we're waiting for an answer to a question. And if we resolve from the 4th to the minor 3rd, well, it feels to me like the answer to that question is no. How about the 6th, which over A is an F and over D minor is a B? Playing the 6th and resolving to say the 5th, again, it makes me feel like I'm worried about getting some bad news, and we get the bad news we were worried about. And lastly, we'd have the minor 7, which would be G over A and C over the D. Now, it's a chord tone if we're playing minor seventh chords, but we're focusing on triads presently. And this note wants to resolve to the root really badly. The minor seventh going to the root sounds to me like I'm accepting whatever my situation is and I'm deciding to overcome it. It's still sort of dark, but I feel something positive about going to that root note. See what you hear. I'm going to take you through the process that I use when I'm practicing coming up with licks. And the first thing is just to come up with the phrase. Let's use the intervals, the minor third, the fourth, the fifth, back to the minor third, and then the root. 5 notes, and we're only going to use one non-chord tone. But that's all we're going to need to get the tension that we want into the sound. So over A minor, we're going to play C, D, E, C, and A. Over D minor, that's going to give us F, G, A, F, and D. That little lick sounds like this. So the notes were cool, but what was missing? I just played it really straight with no phrasing. So that's the second part of the process, exploring different phrasing options to really maximize the impact of the lick. We could use slides. We could use bends. And of course, we want to add some wicked vibrato to the notes we're pausing on in the lick to really make it sing. I'm going to play through the track 3 times, and I'm going to do it 3 different ways. The first time using slides, the second time using bends, and the last time mixing up slides and bends. Here we go. I think that sounds pretty darn good and pretty dramatic. And we're just using a super simple concept to choose the notes that we play, then using some straightforward phrasing to really dress up those notes. Let's do another one. How about the note combination, the ninth, the minor seventh, the root, the sixth, the fifth, back to the sixth, back to the fifth. Over A minor, that would give us B, G, A, F, E, F, and E. Over D minor, we would have E, C, D, B, A, B, and back to A. We need to come up with a rhythm that's going to fit into the measure. And then we need to get our phrasing together. Start with adding some vibrato. Now let's mix in some slides and bends. Now we've got a great sounding, expressive phrase. Let's hear that over the backing track. So I'm digging it. And for the next part of the creative process that we're using, let's take the same phrases that we just played, play them in a different spot on the fretboard. Now, we can stay down in the 5th position over A minor and just play the lick up an octave. Over D minor, let's jump up to the same chord shape that we're using for A minor, and that would be here at the 10th fret. And here are our notes: E, C, D, B, A, B, and A. As we go into a different register on guitar, playing those notes up higher gives the notes more energy. High notes seem to carry more emotion for listeners. And because of the way the notes lay out, it also gives us different options for our phrasing. Check out how the same lick played in a different spot on the neck and played with some different phrasing because of it sounds over the backing track. So now we've laid out a simple process for writing licks. And as you get better and better at writing them, you're going to be able to start to improvise them on the fly also. Let's recap that process. We want to first identify simple chord voicings of the chords that we're going to be soloing over. Next, identify the notes from the key that we're in that sit right around the chord shape on the fretboard. Third, we're going to put together a sequence of notes that we want to use, moving between non-chord tones and chord tones. Fourth, let's find a rhythm for the phrase that fits into a measure. And lastly, experiment with adding different phrasing ornaments that are going to make your phrase really sing. Trust me, if you've been struggling putting the pieces together and trying to get unstuck when you play a solo, this is going to immediately help you move your playing forward. Now, we were playing slower, more melodic licks today, but even when you want to play something more flashy, you can follow this process. Identify the notes that sound best over certain chords, come up with a cool rhythm, and give your full intention to the phrasing. Thanks for watching, and I really hope this helps your playing. Work hard, play hard, have fun with that guitar. I'll see you again soon.